What is up, guys? How's it going? Marvel Madison Sin City Cards here.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Marvel Bros and Friends, episode 13. And it's an exciting one. We got some special stuff lined up for you guys tonight. Special guest. We'll be bringing him on shortly. But before we do that, man, how's it been going?
Pretty good, pretty good. Just, with I haven't been picking too much up, but just been kind of taking my collection and kind of focusing it, selling a bunch of stuff. I have had some really good pickups, but they won't be here for a few weeks.
Okay.
I do have a couple to show tonight, so it'll be fun.
Nice, man. Well, I've been going down rabbit holes all week. Just chasing Silver Age.
Yep.
But just the normal, man. But yeah, so let's get it started. Guys, we have a great show lined up for you. We'll bring him on here in a second. We'll introduce Swagglehause to the show. So sit back, relax, man. It's going to be an awesome one. All right, cool. Swags, what's up?
What's up, man?
What's up? Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for coming on. We're excited to have you, man. We know you have a busy schedule, you have a channel and all that stuff. So thanks for taking the time this week to jumping on and talking comics and cards, man. So
yeah, absolutely. Cool. I'm super excited to get into this. I do love me some Marvel cards, even though it's been a little while since I've revisited the Marvel card content on my channel, but I'm excited to get into it. And, I've been able to catch some of your guys' live streams, and I think I just see Spidey hits in the chat as well. So been able to see what he's been doing. So super happy to hop on a live with all you guys.
Absolutely, awesome, man. So with that said, let's say some highs real quick and we'll jump into some questions. Yeah. Cafe Chromos is in the house.
Swish Rips.
Yeah. We got your
my nephew, Kellen. Yep. What's up, Kellen?
Vintage Lord is in the house. What's up, buddy?
All the way from Canada, eh?
And the one and only Spidey Hits.
There's up, Spidey Hits. Welcome, Spidey.
Cool, man. So, tell our viewers a little bit about what you've been up to, what you've been doing. For those that obviously everybody knows who Swagglehause is, but
not everybody.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Yeah,
even in this community and all that. So introduce yourself as, hey, I'm new to Marvel cards. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, if you guys don't know me, I'm go by Swagglehause. I have a YouTube channel, Swagglehause Comics and Games, spelled right there. But I do a YouTube that really talks mostly about kind of the markets of vintage comic books and a little bit of like talking about, trends and kind of some how-tos on collecting from time to time, and maybe talks a little bit about some of the spec books and investable books and things like that. And it's been almost 3 years now doing this channel. I was like a lot of other channels, kind of a product of COVID, where I was at home and bored and thought, hey, this is as good a time as any to start a YouTube channel. And I decided to kind of hop into, one of my passions, which is comic book collecting. So now that I'm on this treadmill, I can't stop and I have to just keep going. That's the rules of YouTube, I guess. Right.
Yeah. It's the passion that keeps on giving. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome, man. So basically, I want to bring up a couple topics with you. I know that we've seen a lot of your videos, and as you said, we talk about kind of the same thing in the Marvel card market, the ups and downs, and we try and see. We had a couple of people on that study markets in the hobby with Marvel, right. And you do the same thing with comics. So we'll be sharing our screen here in a second, kind of go over some early ASM stuff. Just because, me as an ASM silver collector, I'm curious on what your take is. So I guess we'll just go ahead and jump right into it real quick.
Sure.
So we'll be pulling a screen up here with a website that I use to kind of see trends in the comic market. It's called Go Collect, and there's a couple of them out there. I mean, you have GPA and Jump in, whatever. I think there's one more. Cover Price is also
Cover
another
Price,
one.
yeah.
But
Those
for the
seem to be
most
the
part,
three.
we all use Go Collect for the most part. I mean, it's more user friendly in my opinion. I don't know if you feel the same
There's
way.
an app, isn't there, on Go Collect?
Unfortunately, there's not.
No,
What app am I thinking of that talks
Key,
about
CLZ app is one of the apps, and Key Collector.
Key Collector? There we
Yeah,
go.
Yeah.
yeah.
Key Collector is a little bit more of just announcements that are coming out, and it kind of shows you like the top 10s and all that stuff.
I think all three. Not to derail this is, but that's like
yeah.
interesting conversation as well. It's like, what are the pros and cons of each? I do think that they all do like certain things well. I think GPA is probably the best one in terms of like, you really want to know what the prices are. Like, here's the most accurate data. But I think Go Collect, like, as we're going to kind of go through this, like, it's really nice that it's like, oh, cool, I get to look at a picture of ASM2 and there's like more information of artist, writer, year that it came out. It's like, so it has all these things which like GPA doesn't. And that's usually why I use this. It's a better viewing experience for sure.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. So, diving into this, obviously this right here, ASM2, I pulled 5 of the top ASM keys in my opinion, and Swag can kind of throw his 2 cents in here in a second. But I brought those up to see kind of what happened last fall to now, and what your take would be on, eliminating per se 2020 and 21 out of the equation, and just kind of focus on what happened right before COVID and where we're at right now, if the trends are heading in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys happen to see some of the videos on my channel, what I've been doing pretty
swag scale.
Yeah, the swag scale, that's for sure. That's for sure one. Well, one of the other ones I've been doing is this series where I do like the the indexes, which is like the silver one and the bronze one. And essentially what it is like I just took the top 100 comics that sell within each era of comic books and kind of been looking at their data throughout the months and kind of averaging and trying to come up with like an index value to see like where the markets have been going. And really it was just because I was just curious. Like I was trying to figure out like, okay, like things, it's such a wild west, right? Where it's like, sometimes the prices are extremely high and sometimes they're low and you don't really know, like, is this a good time to buy? Is this not a good time to buy? Or prices crashing? What's going on? So I thought that maybe this pseudo scientific way of measuring the market would be a helpful tool. And kind of what you were saying, Sin, where it's like, after I kind of put it all together, what you saw very clearly was, in 2021, you had this like massive rocket ship to the moon, shoot up right around that time when all of the collectible markets exploded. And then since that time, you've had sort of, ups and downs and things like that. But really kind of where we are now after this kind of pullback and this correction, you kind of have to like eliminate some of those peak prices that happened in that time. And what you'll notice is that if you look back to 2020 to where we are today, we're still higher. And we've kind of just been on this slow upward trend line trajectory. Just that 2021 and 2022 were just kind of crazy times.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you could really much see right here. And just for the viewers out there, on Go Collect, and there's a question by Armando, if it is paid or free. It is $9.99 a month. That's what they charge. So it is a paid service, kind of like what Market Movers does in the sports card market, which they also are incorporating a few Marvel cards in that database of theirs. But it's pretty much the same thing. But I mean, as you can see here on this graph, I mean, it reached back in 2019 in January, probably I'd say here. Let's see here.
You can do a similar search and all that stuff on eBay's Terra Peak, as long as you put in the actual comic and all that. So just to let everybody know,
that's a good point.
Alternative.
That's a good point.
Free alternative.
2000 in July of 2019, and then this book kind of kind of started trending upwards during that craze, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it
Yeah.
got all the way up to in 2022 almost 5,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty crazy, right? And then it shot right back down to earth, and a sale just went for 3,200 in January of this year. So, I mean, with that type of movement right there, back in October when it was 2,500, it went up to 3,200 just recently. Would it be fair to say that it's a possible good trend line right there?
Yeah, I think absolutely. And one thing just to preview, so I have that index video. I usually do it at the end of the month, and in January I got all the data in, and January is like a massive up month. I haven't made the video yet, but like you'll see, it's going to be massively, massively up. So like that little tick up that you saw right there, I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing or whatever, but like this is seemingly the story right now of a lot of comic books, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah. Bringing another book right here. I mean, here's
Well,
probably a good
you've
example
had
as
some
well.
build up in your last videos about that, haven't you? Because
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
So
Another great book right here.
Another great book, ASM3.
Yeah.
This is first appearance of Dr. Octopus. Especially as you can see here as well. They all have the same similar bam. It goes right up and then it just starts to tail down. But then right here, it starts right in, and like you said, January. January is it could be the key month, right? For people
It could be the key month. Yeah. Like, I mean, who really knows? Like maybe now it's going to do this right for the next couple months, but yeah, seemingly January, a lot of, I don't know, people came into this year like ready to spend, I guess.
Yeah, no, and that's a good sign. And now to switch it over to Marvel, Marvel had a crazy pop, right? A crazy pop back in 2020, 2021. We saw prices that Marvel has never seen.
Yeah.
And then we get the pullback, right? So maybe we'll start seeing a little bit of the same trend like we're seeing in the comic world with Marvel cards. So
hey, real quick, while you're on this Doc Ock, go back up to the comic, I guess. So you saw some of the probably new Marvel cards like Spider-Man metal, right?
Yeah.
Swagglehause? Okay. What did you think about the comic cuts out of the Spider-Man metal?
Sorry, what was the question?
Well, what did you think about the comic cuts out of Spider-Man metal? Specifically, if you didn't know about them, there are comic cuts from this actual magazine. There's comic cuts for a lot of the Silver Age and a lot of the older comics. Did you see any of those? Have you seen them before? You haven't?
No, I didn't actually. No, it's
wow.
Did they take panels from them or something?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
So they actually took from ASM, Amazing
Fantasy. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
They took, it was like 10 cards or 15. I think
15 cards.
15 cards. And they actually cut one of those up and they put panels inside the card.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was a big thing that it was talked about. It probably got the comic community in an uproar. Like, how can you sit there and tear apart an AF-15?
I didn't hear about that. I would have totally talked about that if I knew about that.
Oh, geez.
When was this? Like somewhat recently?
Right when Spider-Man Metal came out, we were doing a bunch of box breaks, right?
Got it.
And we actually did a box break on, like, there was a box break done on Spidey's channel where one of our friends, shout out to Alonzo Collectibles, he actually pulled one on camera, and there was like 3 or 4 content creators right there with him when he was opening it. And we were amazed. Like, it was awesome. And Upper Deck did say that they had damaged books, damaged books that they went ahead and cut out.
Yeah, but
we never know what that means. It's like,
yeah, I'm going to stop you there because an AF 15.5 I would have taken all day.
Right, yeah. Like, I mean, let's be honest. Isn't every comic book outside damaged comic book?
Well, it was cool, and the card
Yeah.
world. I know that maybe some didn't
No,
like
no.
the comic world. What are your thoughts? Like, what do
Well,
you think about that?
I do think that, so just, bird's eye view, I actually do think that that's pretty cool. I know that that might be
Right.
sort of sacrilege to say as a
For
comic
sure.
book content creator,
Yeah, yeah.
but I say this coming from a place where actually buying, it's becoming like a little bit more of a trend or a thing where a lot of people are buying these kind of like coverless comic books, like say an AF-15. Like you might buy a coverless AF-15 or like a 0.5, and then what people are doing is they're taking the book apart and then they're selling the pages, because like
Yeah.
if you're somebody who you have an AF-15 and it's like missing page whatever, and you need to buy that page, like there's a market to like actually sell off the pieces of it.
Wow.
And I think by breaking it up like that, they're probably getting more money than they would get for it being like a complete coverless or like a 0.5 or whatever. So this kind of Frankensteining of like the, low grade comic book, it doesn't, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be against it, but
Sure.
it's not unprecedented even within the comic community itself. So
Can you
it's
bring
kind
up
of
one of those cards real quick so you can show them?
Yeah, absolutely.
And now that we're talking about this, just real quick, too. And sorry for the side panel there, Swinson. I just thought it'd be a pretty cool topic to talk about.
yeah, I was going to ask, what's the market
no
on
worries.
these right now?
Yeah, right. So we could take a look at that. What I was gonna say is they're not done. Upper Deck is not done with these comic cuts
Oh,
because
interesting. Okay.
they actually just announced a set a while back. It's called Marvel Beginnings. It will have 3 different parts to the volume 2 is what it's going to be called, because we already had volume 1 back in 2012. Okay.
Right.
So this is the volume 2 part where we're going to have 3 different Marvel Beginnings, and they have announced a 5-panel booklet that you open up. One will be from the Golden Age, one will be from the Silver Age, one will be from the Bronze Age, one will be from the Modern Age, and
Wow.
it's just going to be this whole book. And these books are going to be like numbered to like 5. Like there's only going to be like 5 of the ones, and every single one is unique because you get different panels all the
Yeah.
time. It's not the same panel.
Wow, that's interesting. So this is okay. So here is a
Yep.
example of like, this is a piece of
Here's
an
a comic.
AF-15.
Yep. Here's a comic cut. Yep. Piece of an AF-15. Obviously with Spider-Man on the comic clipping, makes it that much more valuable. I mean, they have a couple of other ones with him with his mask off or putting it on,
Right.
those
right.
kind of cuts. But obviously, him in his suit brings up the value in a card like this.
Totally. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Spidey did have a correction. There was an achievement of EPAC that was a full AF-15 cover that they did cut up and they put in cards for this achievement.
Mm.
And there was, I think, 15 different cards in that achievement.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was achieved, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
So,
was only-
have they said like what Golden Age and what Modern and what book, like have they announced like those types of books, or is it just sort of like, oh, we're gonna it's kind of like unannounced?
No, they just unannounced. They just talked about doing it. So they're not done with these comic cuts, and comic cuts have always been part of Marvel cards. And this is just going to be one more thing that's going to be possibly bring in more comic lovers. Maybe not. I don't know, but it's kind of unique to the Marvel card market for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of interesting. I'm sure that there would be a lot of comic book fans that would not.
I'm sure.
It is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sin's like, are we done? Just kidding.
No, it's all good, man. I mean, listen, let's bring up everything, right?
Yeah,
I mean, this is why we're doing it.
Just kind of came into it because I saw that cool Doc Ock on that, and that just reminded me of the comic cuts. So
cool. Yeah. Amazing Spider-Man number 4. This is first appearance of Sandman, and I'm just bringing these up, guys, just to show everybody that if you take out the 2 years that everybody went crazy over comics and cards and sports cards and everything, the market is trending still upwards, right? Yeah. And you know, I'd just like to put it out there because there's so many people that are hesitant that are talking about, you know, possibly selling collections and this and that. But I mean, the proof is in the pudding right here as far as this graph is concerned. If you look back at the data, we have until, I mean, obviously all the way back to 2002, right, of data with this tool here. So everybody out there, just do your research because as it shows here, looks like that $2,000 mark is the start of a new trend line for this book, and many others just like we just saw. So
Yeah.
um,
And this is definitely mostly true of the Silver Age ASM. Like, is pretty, when it comes to comics, it's about as safe, you know, as you can sort of get for like keys to buy and stuff like that. I mean, ASM is just, there's so many, it's so popular. Like, there's always going to be people that want it, which is why it's so valuable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm chasing right now the 1 through 100, and I'm finding it tough to be battling with so many people that are doing the same thing.
Oh man, it is the it's definitely the Grail comic book run of all Grail comic book runs. Like, if you can get an ASM run together, you can get any run together essentially.
Yeah. I mean, that's and it's real fun right now. So
yeah.
Where do you think that the ASM Silver Run, or maybe Silver Age in general, where do you think it's headed? You know, I know you just mentioned that Amazing Spider-Man would be that so-called safe spot for anybody jumping in. Do you see other genres like Avengers or Fantastic Four or X-Men Silver books also doing the same thing?
Yeah, I think mostly, you know, the key books are always going to be desired. So the first appearances, or like the covers that people historically really like, those will always be desired. And then, you know, Amazing Spider-Man as a title, people will always want it. X-Men as a title, people will always want it. You know, so like the brand or the tiers of characters that you think are the most popular tend to also be the most popular. And, you know, Avengers is maybe a little bit below Spider-Man just because of like, that's like the historical collecting and stuff. But if it's a key book in an Avengers title, it's probably still a key book that people want. And so I think generally speaking, what you see is the floor right now is still higher than 2020 or before we got the boom. And I think that that's probably where we're going to be for, you know, at least safely. That's probably the floor. I mean, if there's macroeconomic factors, like if all of a sudden, you know, like there's like a bank that collapses and things like that, like who knows, you know, but I think as long as if it's kind of, this is where it's at and we got to sort of weather the economic storm, I think that this floor will probably hold, like outside of some kind of weird macro cataclysmic
crazy. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Avengers. I know that you're, I think, collecting that run for yourself.
Yeah. I'm an Avengers fan, but you know, I can admit that in the history of comic collectors and stuff like that, the Avengers title is not as popular as the Spider-Man one. So, you know, the values of those, it's a lot easier to put that run together, but there's still some, you know, very expensive keys that people like.
Oh yeah, I mean the classic. I think I'm correct here. The Avengers Cap issue. I think issue
number 4.
Yeah, 4. That's huge.
The first Vision. People, you know, everyone likes Vision, and there's some other nice books in there, like some Doctor Doom covers, and the Kang the Conqueror one is obviously very desirable right now. So there's some good keys in there for sure.
Yeah, don't forget Wolverine now.
Awesome, man.
Wolverine
has
a place.
Well, cool, man. Thanks for your thoughts on that. It was on my mind. I know that when we were bringing you on, I wanted to kind of talk about something that I'm chasing and what your thoughts are.
Yeah.
In the ASM market right now, and you know, it's basically justifying what I'm doing as far as my goal of collecting that 1 through 100.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Silver Age Spider-Man.
Do you have a question?
It's always going to be desired. Yeah.
Do you have a question for Swagglehause?
Yeah.
Do you have a villain character you chase? I don't think I have a specific villain character I chase, although I will say Thanos is for sure my favorite supervillain. He's always been, even outside of us getting him in the MCU and stuff like that. I think I grew up in that like Infinity Gauntlet 90s time. So I have like a nostalgia for him.
Nice.
And then I'd say like probably after him, speaking of Spider-Man villains, the Lizard, and then I would say Galactus. So those are like the three villains that Thanos, Lizard, and Galactus. My random three villains that I always appreciate them on a cover or on a Marvel card or something like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I mean, you brought up Galactus. What do you think the MCU is going to be doing with something like that? I mean, if it's going to be even possible with the size of that character on screen.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I don't know if you saw the Eternals film, but I felt like the Eternals movie was like, here's our test. Here's our test footage of like what is Galactus going to look like, you know? So they at least got to, you know, try some stuff with the Celestials and what they look like. But you know, the rumors are that he might be the villain right now of the Fantastic Four movies. So I feel like that's pretty awesome, you know?
Yeah, I saw that this past week that he is possibly going to be the villain. But then again, if they do something like that, then where does Doom fall, right? I mean, Dr. Doom.
Well, the first one we're going to see is the King the Conqueror, right? With Ant-Man coming out. So we'll see.
We're definitely going to see that for sure.
See that play out.
Definitely, I'm like, man, I mean, like how are they going to juggle all this stuff? Like, even if they bring in Galactus, you know, and then you get to like a Secret Wars thing, it's like, well, what's Galactus's role going to be in Secret Wars? You know, is he going to have a role? Or I guess maybe he does. If you guys know the original Secret Wars storyline, like Doom steals Galactus's powers and things like that. If you guys ever read the comic, but so there is a precedent. Maybe they got it all figured out. Maybe I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it could go so many ways. I mean, I've heard talks of Beyonder, you know, that Majors might be playing the Beyonder as a Kang variant, right?
Yeah.
You know, and then we got to talk about Franklin Richards possibly making an appearance as well. I mean, that Fantastic Four movie is coming out right before Kang Dynasty that year. So
yeah, totally.
It could play a big role in what we see in the following movies after that, right?
Yeah.
But that brings us to our next topic, and I'm glad you brought that up because Marvel's, how are they going to juggle everything? Maybe it's in Kevin Feige's plan, per se. But obviously you heard the big news this past week with...
Real quick before you pull that up.
Yeah.
How about you pull that up? What's your favorite female characters?
Oh, female. Yeah.
That
Charles here.
Charles.
It's a good question. Storm for sure is number one for me.
Right.
I go Storm, and then I'd say, I mean, it's kind of a cop-out answer. I probably would go Rogue after that. Like I have the X-Men, like the X-Men character bias.
How about in the Spider-Man realm?
I think Black Cat is cool, but she's not my favorite. She's not my favorite.
Oh,
I know. But I would say it's Storm, Rogue, and Scarlet Witch. Let's go with that.
Nice.
Okay. Nice.
Mine's Spider Woman. His is Black Cat. So you know,
Spider Woman's cool. She's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So leading into that, like I said, Marvel's got their hands full because of this guy right here.
I hear some
Darkhawk. Yes, he loves Darkhawk.
I do love Darkhawk. It's an obsession.
So James Gunn. Big news this week with James Gunn. That
was your last video there, Swag.
Yeah. He definitely moved the market.
Yeah, and I'll just leave it in your lap right now. Since you just had a video, enlighten our viewers out there what that video was about and what your take is on what, you know, the Kevin Feige versus James Gunn war.
Yeah, I mean, well, to answer the first part, I had put out a video. I usually tend to do this if I can get it out, whatever kind of cultural thing is happening. If there's like trailer moving in a market or like an announcement like this, I'll talk about it and maybe talk about some of the comics that moved as a result. And sure enough, when James Gunn announced all his DC stuff, basically anything that was remotely associated to what he talked about, like you saw a lot of movement. I said, my title of my video was my favorite, where it was just like, I said something like, comic book dealers erect statues of James Gunn after market surges or something, so I think it's pretty cool. I think, I like DC. I would say that I'm somewhat versed in DC, but I don't know it the same as Marvel. So I'm not as familiar with, like, say, The Authority and some of those more obscure shows and stuff that he talked about. But I'm cautiously optimistic. I feel like it's like, I love James Gunn's films. He's obviously super talented, but I feel like it's like, just because you're a great, NBA player doesn't make you a great NBA coach, right? Like, he's a different role right here. So it's like, will this be as successful as, the MCU has done up until this point? I mean, I feel like we hope that, but I feel like, they got a long way to go. Like, it's kind of a miracle what Marvel has pulled up to this point. I mean, there's a reason why, like, there's only been one studio that's been able to do the Marvel thing, and that's Marvel. Like, Star Wars has tried it, all these other IPs have tried to do, like, connecting universes, and it's really difficult. So I don't know. I'm hopeful, but it feels like they got a long way to go to get to that level. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about all this stuff, or what are your guys' feelings?
I mean, versus Marvel versus DC, we're not going to see that for a while. I'm sure they got to build that sucker up, or they can't. They're going to fail real quick. So,
I mean, he's got some big shoes to fill. Definitely you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned that he's no longer just a director. Now he's actually running the show, like Feige, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have Feige out there directing and running the show. And James Gunn came out this week and said that he's going to be doing Superman Legends, I believe, right? So, or Legacy, I think it was. So I mean, it's going to be tough for him. Love all his stuff, his movies. I mean, he took, and let's be honest, a mediocre group like the Guardians of the Galaxy and turned it into this big phenom with the movies, right? And just got all those comic books like exploding, and everybody talking about Groot and Rocket and Gamora, and nobody was talking about that stuff before that movie came out. I mean, let's be honest there too. I mean, the Groot #1, nobody wanted that book, and then all of a sudden it's very difficult to get, very expensive book, and that was James Gunn, right?
Yeah. I mean, if he's when he says, like, oh, I'm writing Superman, like, at least my assumption is, like, oh, he'll do a good job, like, at least the script. I bet he's going to direct it. Like, that's my guess. But again, it's like, even when I think back to Marvel, I think that they kind of, like, now, like, in this phase, they're doing the thing where it's like, oh, let's do the random show for, whatever, this character Moon Knight, who, like, we all know, but, like, the mass audiences don't know Moon Knight. And I think it's interesting that they're doing the, like, we're going to do an Authority movie. And it's like, I mean, maybe it'll be successful, but
nobody knows who Authority is.
It feels like that. Like, this is an uphill battle. Like, it feels like maybe just Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, and then when that's, like, rolling, then you could be like, all right, yeah, here's the
Weird Commandos.
Yeah, the Creature Commandos. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, again, who knows, right?
If I could say something, as far as, like, anybody that has the passion like James Gunn does behind what he does, you're gonna see some success of somewhat because of the passion.
Totally.
We see that with Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool. We see that with Hugh Jackman and Wolverine. They're gonna make it work. They're gonna make it phenomenal, or they're gonna shoot for that. So anybody that has passion, I feel, is gonna make something happen. And like you said, like, I don't think he could not let anybody else direct. He'd have to direct that too, to make that a success. So they're going to have that passion to be involved, just like others. So,
totally. And I think like that Superman movie, like, he must be feeling the pressure. Like, it has to be a grand slam. Like, I think we kind of forget, like, the first Avengers movie was such a grand slam
Yeah.
that like this is why we still have Marvel today. Like,
Correct.
Yeah.
if it was like, oh, medium success, like I don't know if it, it's the same train, it's pretty, but so that Superman movie, it's got to be a
So
massive.
you know this Jason Brown now because he came from your channel, right?
Yeah, I've seen
He's
Jason
from
around.
your
Yeah.
channel, yeah.
Yeah.
So Superman Legacy, we all know is younger Superman. I still think we will have legion of superheroes, obscure heroes from the future that train Superman by showing him the legacy he left on their world.
Great
I need
point.
to read into that story. I know that was one of the comic books that was moving quite a bit.
Yeah. No, that's a great point.
What's up, Martin?
So basically, going, just to end this topic real quick, and then we'll go into our pickups here and kind of talk a little bit more. But,
Okay.
Kevin Feige, like you said, man, he basically has hit a home run with these movies. Gunn here, he's bringing in the Swamp Thing, and I'm interested to see what he does with the Lantern Corps. Because that's been tried. Obviously, Ryan Reynolds has made many meme jokes about that movie that he did for Green Lantern, which was probably one of the worst ever DC movies, in my opinion. I don't know. Did you see that one, Swag?
Yeah, I did see it. I don't really remember it, although I felt like I had like a not very specific opinion on it. I was like, it was whatever.
Yeah, he did the Hal Jordan. Obviously, the Green Lantern. I can't remember the other one. It just left my mind. But I know Hal Jordan is a fan favorite, and that was poorly done.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So if you didn't see Spidey's video, or actually, it was last Marvel card show with 9.9 newsstand. I don't know if you've seen that too, Swagglehause, right? With 9.9 newsstand.
No, which one is that?
Spidey has a show every week called The Marvel Show, where he goes on with 9.9 newsstand, Manu. And they talk about Marvel cards and comics and all that stuff. Well, in this last one, actually, Spidey actually mentioned when Phil, the guy that's over the whole organization of why help me out here, Sin.
The organization of what?
It's
You just popped out of your head.
Yeah, I did. I just lost it. But Phil, he's the agent, right? And so he actually had a passion of like when he was a kid of collecting Marvel cards. The Agent of Shield in general.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, he just said it.
Sorry.
Phil Coulson.
Yeah.
Phil Coulson. Yeah. Got
But
it. Yeah.
he collected when he was a kid these cards, and in the movie, he actually gives these cards and he's showing them to Samuel L. Jackson. I'm like, hey, you think you could get Captain America to sign these, or Iron Man to look at these or whatever?
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, basically, like he threw them on the table, Nick Fury and all that stuff, and it just kind of actually made Spidey explain this a lot better than me, but he was explaining that these Marvel cards were just shown, and they knew they needed to get along because of Phil's passion of like collecting these when he was a kid, that they needed to get along and they needed to like figure this out. And that's when they created and Avengers started. So basically Marvel cards saved the MCU.
That is very, very true. That is very true.
So that was pretty.
You have to see. Actually, is there a Marvel card? Because I remember, wasn't it like one of the ones
from 1966? Right?
Yeah, like the image in the movie. It's like,
Yeah.
but it's like Chris Evans like was posing on the card. He's like doing a salute or something like this. It'd be cool if there was actually a Marvel card like that. I feel like that would be.
Oh, that'd be iconic. As far as like the comparison.
Yeah. Is there one that like is actually the Marvel card from the Avengers film? That'd be pretty sick.
There actually is a set. I actually have some. Right here, it's the Civil War. Hold on. All right. I'm going to open up a pack of Marvel cards.
Oh,
Hold
yeah.
on.
Can we pull the bloody Captain America card?
Yeah. Yeah.
The assemble card, we'll call
But this
it.
is from Civil War, right? So it's these.
Yeah.
It's these cards, right? And there's only 2 cards in each. But actually, you can get these, and you can get the actual character right on it, and that's just kind of from the movie type 2 card.
Right.
But they do have Chris Evans on what's called Marvel Black Diamond. I don't know if you know what Black Diamond is,
No.
but Black Diamond actually is a set, from the sports realm. Well, Marvel made it in 2021 was the very first year, and Marvel Black Diamond came out, and it was actually MCU cards where there was Chris Evans autos on it. So you are not as versed in Marvel cards, so that's why I'm explaining it to you. A lot of people on this channel are like, well, yeah, but guys, Swagglehause is in comics, and he's.
But do people like the cards that are like these sort of movie tie-in cards, or is it like be more of like, oh, here's original art, like art gem art?
Okay, so like there's actually two sides to that, right? The OG collector, right? That you see. They may not like movie cards. Like, I don't even touch movie cards, right?
Right.
They don't even do it. They're all about comic cards and all that stuff. I'm one to like just more the comic cards and all that stuff, and old classic Wolverine suit, brown suit, yellow suit, and all that stuff. But at the same time, I give respect to those movie cards because I still love the MCU movies. And so anybody who's going to love the MCU movies, I'm sure they wouldn't mind having an auto of their favorite, character or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's where Marvel Black Diamond actually came. And there's going to be another set like Marvel Black Diamond, and it's going to be called the Marvel Allure. Now, are you familiar with sports products or anything like that?
Not too much. Yeah.
Hockey has Upper Deck owns a lot of the hockey realm and all that. There's a set called Allure, Hockey Allure. And it's a set that Upper Deck's made. Well, they're making a Marvel Allure this year that's going to be coming out, and it's going to be movie based as well with autos and all that stuff. So
got it. Okay.
Yeah, so
I think a cool card for somebody to own, and rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. But to get a Chadwick Boseman Panther auto,
that makes sense. That one makes sense.
That would be a good pickup for just to have it. And cherish something like that, little piece of history. Be pretty cool. So talking about that, Swag, you got some cards to show us.
Yeah, do I? I definitely have some cards to show you guys.
So Swags is about to bring out the heat, his collection, guys. Right. So
are you guys ready to just literally jaw drop, just straight pulling out the Grail cards right here? What do you guys think about this one?
Oh, the Deadpool rookie card.
Classic Deadpool rookie. What's going on with this one? When's the last sale in a 10? You guys know off the top of your head?
I'm not sure, but I think in a 10 that would at least be 500 in a 10, but I don't know.
What were some of those sales, back in the time?
That one sold for over a couple $1,000 at PSA 10, the very first Deadpool one. I think it was 3,500 or something. It was up there.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. This is still in my to be sent. I think this one maybe has a chance. Who knows? This one right here, one of my Marvel card videos. I got a bunch of bricked cards, and so this was Blade that came out of that set. What was it? It was the 93
masterpiece.
Yeah, 93 masterpiece.
Yeah,
but the Blade rookie, which I don't know if I've talked to I don't know if you know Neo cards and comics.
Yeah.
Neo, somebody who I've chatted a lot with and stuff, and I always ask him the question. I'm like, is there Marvel card spec yet? Like, are the She-Hulk cards moving when She-Hulk's out, or the Moon Knight cards moving when Moon Knight's out? And he's always like, no, I think it's too immature in terms of like because most people just go for their favorite characters, right? Like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you just like Spider-Man, you're just getting Spider-Man. So like this idea of like, oh, let me spec on the Blade rookie card, it's not quite there yet because people are still just filling their collections with just the characters.
There's just not enough data and all that to support. We have a buddy named Pancake Analytics, our buddy Tom. He actually is a forensic data analyst, and that's his job. And he goes to Comic Cons and all that stuff, talking about Pokemon and talking about TCG cards and all that stuff. But he's actually dived into Marvel cards, and there has been some small proof of when some of the Disney Plus shows have come out, that there has been more sales of that character, and specifically more of them. And I think there was one about the Hawkeye show, like there it moved or something a little bit. Moon Knight has actually, in my opinion, gotten more popular as well. Right when Moon Knight was coming out, there was an earlier set of Marvel called Vibranium. Sin knows what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And these Moon Knight cards sold for like $500, where like a regular card would sell for maybe like $200, like a regular character. Well, Moon Knight's just a regular character, but it was selling higher because of the the speculation and all that stuff with Moon Knight. But since Moon Knight has happened, there's been more and more people liking Moon Knight. So I think there's a play there, and there's something to be said there as far as if it's made in the MCU and it's just coming in and there's going to be more of it, people could tend to go that route and that way. So
it's interesting. I mean, it just makes sense. Like, insight in mind, out of sight, out of mind. Like, obviously, there's going to be a handful of people who watch the show and go like, "Oh yeah, let me grab a Moon Knight card." And but whether or not it's going to actually move the market yet, I guess is still TBD.
I mean, Spidey is right. Movies don't really move Marvel cards. There hasn't been like a lot of that way, but there has been some sales, some little things here and there that there could be somewhat something in the future coming with that. Possibly, that's my opinion, obviously. So,
I mean, in the comic world, in Swag, you can contest to this. When that Moon Knight show was about to pop, that comic, that first appearance was going. It was like to the moon, right?
It was crazy,
And now where's that book? To the floor.
Yeah. Well,
it's the opposite direction.
It is. That's an interesting thing too, because I do wonder, is it like, because every book has corrected, right? So is it like, was it maybe that book just, it was overshooting too much, not only because of the show, but also because like everyone was going crazy and everything. So, now I think that book is, I think it's probably a good buy.
It's a great buy
right now. Like, I mean, Oscar Isaac, I trust. Like, I think that guy is going to do a great job. And
he's a great actor, actor. And I mean, you're right. I mean, right now is probably the best time to pick it up because we know that there's a season 2 coming. So
definitely think it's a really good time to keep an eye out for that one.
This is what I giggled at just a bit. Howard the Duck, new movie, new spec.
I mean, to touch on that comment there,
just to let Swagglehause know, there are Howard the Duck cards. Okay, just letting you know.
Hey, I have a fondness in my heart for the Howard the Duck movie in the 80s.
All right.
Oh, amen.
Yeah.
But I was going to touch on the Howard the Duck comment. Swag, do you have a box sitting down there of Booster Gold number 1s?
Dude, I wish. I'd be going to the moon with that one.
Oh man, as soon as James Gunn said Booster Gold, that 9.8 was selling for 1,800 or something like that.
Oh yeah, I don't know where it finished at, but like clearly like off the charts,
off the charts,
whatever it was selling for. But I mean, a lot of people, are like, hey, Booster Gold's a cool character, and I know like just very, very little about him. I don't know if I've ever actually read a comic book about Booster Gold, but I've seen him in, on covers and things like that. But who knows? with those types of characters. Feels like a James Gunn character to me.
Josh, before you show your pickups,
Yeah.
I want to ask Swag a question real quick. So, and this has been on my mind, and I'm happy that you're here because you've had more time in the community than I have. There's a question that basically comparing raw books to sales, right? And when you're talking to a comic seller out there, they'll say, well, this is a 4.5, and they'll try to sell it as a 4.5 price, right?
Right.
In the comic, in the card, Marvel card world, a raw card's a raw card, right?
Right.
It's more so in sports where you're going to sell a raw card, and if you say it's a PSA 10, you're not going to get a PSA 10 price on that card until it shows up in that slab showing a PSA 10, right? So my question is, how do you feel about the comic community trying to price books that are raw with certain grades when they're not considered a CGC certified grader?
Yeah, that's a good, no, yeah, that's a really good topic and an interesting one to discuss. And I feel like even in my time doing the YouTube channel, I felt the changes in price where, there was a time when the raw book, let's say it was a Silver Age book and it's like CGC, it sold for $200, and then, or as say at whatever grade, and then like the raw equivalent might sell for like 120 or 100, right? So it was like, okay, yeah,
Right.
like here's a little bit of wiggle room and like what it would take to cost to send in a CGC. You have that room, and then to your point, like it just the room just got less and less and less to the point where like the dealers would just be like, oh, it's selling for 200 in a slab. Okay, I'll just charge 200. And it didn't make any sense, because I can tell, where you're kind of leading the question. Like, clearly this doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you pay more for the raw when the cost
You could just buy, you could just buy the slab.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think maybe there's a greed aspect to it, because there's this feeling of like, well, why would I sell my $100 raw book to you when I know that once you grade it, you're going to be able to flip it for 200 or whatever, right? And I think that that's probably where that price point started to shrink, is just this knowledge that people were making that extra margin by off of the dealers who didn't have it. But to your point, it's like when you're getting the raw book, like you don't know that the grade is the grade, and you're also taking on some risk. I mean, maybe it's restored, maybe it's incomplete. Like,
True.
Hopefully it's a complete book that like I'm going to get the blue label when it comes back to me. And like, so you're taking on that risk when you buy the raw, which is why I feel like the raw prices probably should be a little bit less than that of the CGC ones. But I wonder if maybe that'll start to kind of go back the other way. Like maybe the pendulum will swing back towards like, okay, yeah, maybe we'll kind of walk off some of the graded price now. I mean, I'm hoping that's the case. We'll see if that happens, but yeah, it seems like comics is the place where dealers do that. But to your point, like, yeah, I know enough that in the card world, that's definitely not the case. Like you would never
No,
pay
absolutely not.
PSA 10 price,
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned
you mentioned with the numbered stuff, obviously, right? But
right.
But
I mean, if you're at the, if it's that rare and you really can set the terms of the price, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
No, and you brought up restored. I mean, I don't think you're walking around shows with a black light in your back pocket.
Right. Yeah.
Which for the fans out there, for the viewers out there, I'm sorry. What I mean by restored and what Swagglehause means by restored is when you send a book to get graded, if there's anything that has been affected on the cover, like a color touch, somebody took a Sharpie and tried to color in a white spot that should be a black color, right?
Yeah.
And you take a Sharpie and you try and dot that little white area to show black. CGC will break out the black lights when they get these, and more so with Silver Age. With the older the book is, they'll break out the black lights and they'll take a look at the cover to see if it was altered with any kind of pen or any restoration.
Yeah, in
And
the
if they,
card world, they call it tampered, and they'll send the card back to you.
yeah, yeah,
So you don't try to restore a card.
yeah, absolutely. But CGC will slab it, and it'll get the purple label of death.
Yeah. Purple
Which
label of death.
yeah. Well, in the comic world, restored labels get maybe half of what they actually should be worth as a blue label, right? So
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's tough with those books when you're dealing with a dealer that, especially Silver Age or Golden Age, right? I mean, and when they're asking the prices that they're asking for raw, and they themselves don't know if it's been tampered, and then you try and get that book graded and it comes back restored, it's a bad day.
Yeah.
Vintage Lord just said it. All his raw cards are 10s unless proven otherwise.
I mean, it's a good way to go. It's funny with the comic thing too, because I think like the potential of the 10 sometimes is more alluring than like the real number, right? Let's say it's like a PSA 9 and you're like, here's a 9 in hand. It's like, I'd still rather roll the dice on this potential 10
Yeah.
That's so
or
true.
raw card.
Hey, so the Slabbin, I just wanted to real quickly ask you, do you know that CGC is doing Marvel cards now?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. I
And
just didn't know if you. What do you think of CGC versus the PSA? Like, would you, as a personal collector of your CGC slab comics, would you personally do graded Marvel card CGC because of that? Or would you still keep them PSA because that's kind of how the value and all that stuff if you're going to resell?
I think that I would still go PSA. Like, one, because I actually don't like the CGC card label. I know it's the same as the comic book label, and I like the comic book label, and I don't know why. I don't like the card label, and maybe I also don't like the subgrades. Just as a principal thing, I think, and I don't know how you guys feel about that whole part.
Well, you don't have to have subgrades. You can just.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No, not at all. That's actually
$5 extra.
Yeah, $5 extra. So
okay.
typically a lot of people just get the actual grade of the card. They don't want the subgrades. I don't really care about subgrades myself. Like, I just would rather have it slabbed. And if there's just one, I would like it better if they would have did a 10, a 9.8.
Right.
And then if it was like a really good one versus, how like there can be 9.9s and 10s in comics, but very, very, very rare. They could have just made that a little different color.
Yeah.
So there we go.
So it's funny because I'm not against CGC, but I still think I would do assuming the turnaround times and the prices were the same. I think I still would go PSA, but again, I'm not as like versed in that whole space.
And
I have that bias that like PSA is just, that's the one to go to. So I'm gonna like a sheep, just follow everyone else,
Yeah, I mean, I got a stack of PSA right next to me, and I've always been a PSA card grader. Although I love the fact that CGC is thinking outside the box, right? And there are collectors out there that are going after comic covers compared to the Marvel card that matches that, and kind of doing a set, right? That's the idea of what they're trying to do there.
Yeah, like the stacking's comment actually is a good one, and that I can see. I can definitely see the appeal of like wanting to have the labels, go in tandem and match, and that for sure like makes a lot of sense to me.
And to add to that, there's a lot of Marvel cards that the actual art comes from an actual cover of a comic. And so myself, I will collect a Marvel card, and if I find that there's a comic that matches that Wolverine Marvel card, I'll pick it up. Like, I have many like that. And I have something to say about that as far as if I get a 9.8 CGC, I want a 9 or a 10 CGC label to match that. It just looks cool.
Yeah.
And I see that just being like not a big comic guy, but I think there is something to say about that for sure.
Do you guys find right now, Even just getting the sense of everyone in the chat, like for sure, like it feels like Marvel cards, like CGC really is like becoming the place to go. Like, is that kind of true? Even of like high end cards, people are people sending their medals into CGC and doing that stuff?
So here's the thing on that, and Sin will want to say something as well.
Okay.
So CGC has been kind of backing Marvel cards, it seems like,
Sure.
or vice versa. Some Marvel card collectors have been backing kind of CGCs and all that stuff. And there's been content with Spidey, there's been content with Norin, which Norin actually works for CGC and all that stuff, Norin Rad. And so at the same time, we're seeing that there are some people that are collectors of OG Marvel collectors that are liking some of these CGC slabs, or they're saying they have anything, but there's still going to be the place for PSA. And PSA currently right now, and why I say currently right now is because me and Sin had a conversation about this. Currently, they're king PSA for cards as far as value goes,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But if you're looking at PC, I could see a big push for CGC if it was just for PC. But if it's for resale value, currently right now, CGC just doesn't demand the premium as PSA. And those are just our facts, right?
Right. Yeah.
Me as of right now, me and Sin were looking at a same card, same grade of CGC, and in 2 days time there will be a PSA sale of that same grade, and we're going to have to come back to that and talk about
Oh
it.
yeah. No, those
Yeah.
are good discussions
We
for sure.
know that the CGC sold for like $200, so where is this PSA going to land?
Yeah.
Is where it's at.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about. I mean, I'm a PSA guy through and through. Now, I got to give it to CGC on a few things. The case itself shines, sparkles, crystal clear compared to the kind of like foggy type of look that PSA has right around the edges. So that's one thing. The fact that they're actually grading signed cards and they're putting a yellow label on that is kind of cool, right?
That is
I mean,
pretty
they
cool.
just did that with the McFarlane signing. I think he was the very first artist. I think, and he is the very first artist that did a signature series for Marvel cards. Right now, though, with CGC, they're able to grade and put a grade on any Marvel card out there, whereas PSA, they're not grading some cards. For example, I sent in 2 sketch cards, right? 2 sketch cards that I wanted to see if they made it through PSA and they figured it out and put it in their database, but they won't touch these cards, although these cards are pack pooled. So
Right.
they're validated by Upper Deck that an artist, did the sketch, signed the back, and PSA still yet won't grade cards.
Now, just as you showed sketch cards, I'm going to play devil's advocate just for a second on the on the actual Marvel card collectors. There's a lot of Marvel card collectors that won't, to this day, grade sketch cards, right? Because it's a one of one. There's no need to grade and all that stuff. You can get it slabbed, get it authenticated. No place to grade. But there are some that like, no, I like the grade and all that stuff, so I'm still going to slab it and grade it. Some people just think, oh, I just want it slabbed, so they grade it, but they didn't know that they could just put the A on it and be authenticate, on it as well. So, and so
Yeah, I mean, what Josh means by the authentication is that there are some companies, for example, CGC will put a grade on it, Beckett will put a grade on it, but SGC they put an A on it for authentic. They don't put a number. They don't attach a number to that card.
Interesting. Okay.
And earlier when I said when Norin works for CGC, he's not a grader. He's actually just a consultant of the cards that if CGC ever has a question about a Marvel card and how authenticate is, or if they just have questions in general about the card, they can reach out to Norin as a consultant, and Norin will consult them on that card for them to grade it. Because that's really why CGC waited so long, is because they didn't have any knowledge about Marvel cards at all.
Correct.
And so when they found that opportunity to find someone within the Marvel card community to be able to consult with, that's what happened. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of the background.
Kind of smart. I mean, I feel like that's probably goes a long way into like kind of validating them as like being reputable. Have there been discussions yet of like, oh, CGC's grading is way harder than PSA or things like that?
You know what? There hasn't been like discussions like that.
Okay,
People pretty they know PSA currently right now is where it's at. But at the same time, I think a lot just see CGC as a PC thing, and a lot of OG Marvel card collectors are only like collectors. They don't sell a lot. They don't sell any of their collections. They just I don't want to use the word hoard, but they take a lot of the cards and they're set collectors, so they collect all these sets. And so CGC has its place, but at the same time, if there's a card that you're just wanting value from, hands down, if you don't send it to PSA, you're not going to get the full value out of it, right? So,
Yep.
That's just facts, right? That's facts. Whether I agree with it or not.
Yeah, for now.
And
I told Marvel Madness a couple days ago, whenever PSA is grading 1 million cards a month, and any other company even remotely gets close to that, then that conversation in my mind is that other companies is inching closer to the heels of PSA.
And I have a couple graded cards from PSA that I'm not too happy with the grade. And I think I will submit them to CGC to see what happens, right?
Yeah, it's a good test.
Yeah. I mean, people do it all the time. They'll take one card from one grading company. It was on our show last week. I took an 8.5 from Beckett of a Venom card, cracked it out of the case, and submitted it to PSA, and it came back a 10.
So it can.
So it more than doubled the value of that card.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. All right.
Pickups.
Yeah.
Just real quick.
Go ahead and
cool.
Add your.
So I wish I had my ComC order in, but I don't have that in currently right now. I picked up a full set of Jim Lee art from 1990. So in 1990, Jim Lee did, I think it was Comic, I don't know if it was Comic Images or was earlier than Comic Images. Someone can maybe correct me, but it's just basically a full set that was done by Jim Lee. One of my buddies on Instagram, his name is Elusive Collectibles. He actually has had a card that I'm like, I don't have that Wolverine card. And I'm just like, where can I get it? I couldn't find it anywhere. And then I found a whole set that contained it. And so I bought the set. And it was like $80 for the whole set. So basically, I just got the whole set of them. There's probably like, I can't remember, 45 cards or something like that. So it was like $2 a card. But I just really wanted one card. Have you ever bought a lot of comics, like a lot, and you just wanted one comic from that lot?
Totally.
But you got it, right? So that's kind of what I did, right? So, all right. So I'm just going to show you these right here. So these are from 1990. Yeah, sorry. 1990 and Jim Lee art on them. Okay.
Nice.
And I specifically just pulled out the Wolverine cards that I'm going to probably grade. We've got Punisher and Wolverine there. Pretty sick. And then we got Wolverine right there. African Saga. This is actually the cover art for that set. And then this one here.
Which one was the one that you wanted?
I'm going to show you right here. It's this one here. This is the one I wanted.
Oh, look at that. Animal Rage.
He had this slabbed in a PSA slab, and it was a PSA 9. And I'm just like, dude, that is a sick card. And I only purchased this whole freaking lot for this one card because I couldn't find the card anywhere. But this is the card that I was able to pick up. Pretty
nice.
Pretty cool. So
you think it's got a shot at a 10?
You know what? I don't know because like some of the edging, it seemed like there's too close, but then when I look over here, so it might be a little heavy on this side, but
Yeah.
part of them, yeah, it might be a little heavy on this side, right? Versus this side over here. But at the same time, the corners look good. The top and bottom look really
Yeah,
good.
top and bottom look good. Yeah.
And there's not really a back because the back actually creates this whole puzzle, right? That you can put together. And so the back, there's not really anything. They'll probably look at this like whiting on the black, if there's any. There's not much here, so it's probably gonna get a 9. Right, the 10s and stuff are just hard sometimes from PSA. So,
Trust me, I know.
but it may be one of those where it's like, oh, it's gonna get a 9, and then I'll get it back and it's a 7 because I didn't see some surface dent in the card because that's how it can be. And you can't press press a card. You
Yeah.
can't press
Unfortunately.
the dent out of the card. So
Not yet. There's going to be some
there's
breakthrough.
gonna be some
Some
breakthrough.
cleaning, pressing breakthrough.
Yeah, our buddy Valor Comics Services, he cleans and grades comics for some of our Marvel collectors out there, and that's what I use for some of my comics. But he might find something, invent something. Who knows? Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe Swagglehause will beat him to it, though. So
You never
get
know.
to it.
Do you, Swagglehause, do you send your books off? Or let me ask, I know you have graded and raw, but have you ever taken your raws to get them pressed and cleaned and submitted? Or
Yeah. I've done it. I've done it a couple times and stuff, and I'll probably do some more submissions for sure. But a lot of it was I don't necessarily have like preference. Like I don't need everything slabs, but I do like slabs occasionally. But I definitely I thought it was just good practice to see if I can test my own grading, see if I got the numbers right. And I think it's good to do it every now and again, just as a learning experience. I think for anyone out there.
Well, you're kind of actually brushing by what you actually did in the actual video. So Swagglehause actually, uh, he kept track of exactly every single card and what grade
Oh
he
yeah,
thought he was gonna get.
that's
He
true.
wrote it down and all that stuff. So this is a lot more than any of us Marvel card collectors do at all. So he kept a whole Excel spreadsheet of some kind, and he just did a whole list, told what it was going to be and all that stuff. And then when he did his submission video or his reveal video with all of his submissions that he had back, he kind of went over some of those cards and some of
Yeah.
what it's like, I think that was going to be a 7 or an 8 or something like that. And he'd have these little notes on there. So he did phenomenal work. You guys got to check that video out.
In fairness, though, I feel like that was at the time when the turnarounds were over a year.
I know,
So
I know, right?
You just had to write it down because I literally I barely remembered what I sent by that point.
Yeah.
that was a nightmare back then. Man.
But that was cool. That was really cool.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna show some books real quick that I picked up. Actually, let me show this card first. So we talked about this on the last show, and it drives me bananas that eBay still is doing this, and I get why they're doing eBay authentication on certain cards. I have yet to see them do an authentication on the comic book and Swagglehause, if you don't know what I'm talking about. So on eBay, there's an authentication process that they've implemented recently, maybe in the last 3 or 4 months that this has happened, right? And what they do is if a card is a specific value, reaches a threshold value, that card gets sent off to the CGC department in Florida, and they authenticate it and make sure that it's a real card before it gets shipped back to the actual buyer, right? They're doing this for a lot of Marvel cards, I believe. I mean, this card here was, in my opinion, if the card shows that there's an Upper Deck seal on it, it's pretty much authentic at that point, right? I mean, with Upper Deck, you probably can't see it, but in this little corner right here, there's a diamond hologram that Upper Deck puts on these cards, and pretty much all their cards. That's enough. That cannot be duplicated. You can't duplicate that, right? But I mean, anyways, hopefully they trend that down a little bit, not become too anal about it.
Well, it's kind of how they you can look at it at the comic side, right? You can't get a comic signed third party and then bring it and have it slabbed up and get a yellow label from CGC. You just can't do that. You'd have to use CBCS or whatever. You know, you can't do that. And so that's kind of like how all these they wanted to have some sort of eBay authentication for that to be able to be somewhat, and they do it in sports card autographs and stuff like that too. But some of them just miss the boat. They should get the actual buyer involved, saying, hey, we did find something that was kind of specific. Do you want us to send it back to the seller, or do you want it? But they don't do that. They just send it back without any question asked to the buyer or anything like that.
Yeah. So then after that happens, either you reach back out to the seller to try and do the deal again through eBay, or you figure it out and go through IG like I do. Josh, can you make me big, man?
Yeah.
So I was fortunate. These don't pop up very often. 2019 Premiere is a tough set. These are thick cards. So I was able to pick up the Venom, and it's kind of hard to see on my camera, but this is numbered to 50. It's a hard numbered on the back of the card down here in blue. You can't see it very well, but this is 2019. One of my favorite poses for Venom, and I was happy to pick that up. So that was that. This one that you see back here.
It's nice.
The ASM, yep. The first appearance of Kingpin in a 4/5. This looks like it's going to be a lot higher because I'm cracking this out and sending it to CGC. I'm going to send it to my presser because I just believe that it's just a better looking 4.5. So if this gets a grade bump, even a half grade bump, or maybe a 5.5, if that comes back, and Swags can contest to this, the values just go through the roof on certain books out there.
For sure.
Just a half grade bump, it gets pretty crazy on those rare books. First appearance of Mysterio, was able to pick that up as well, which is a cool book. First appearance of Electro,
nice,
which is also a good book there. And then I have a few other ones that are in the mail that we'll show next week, but those were my pickups this week.
Cool. Awesome.
Big ones.
Yeah.
Swagglehause, do you have any pickups?
Pickups, man. I didn't pull my pickups.
No, you're fine.
Any comic pickups?
I did. Well, tomorrow I'm going to or this weekend I'm going to this comic show. I was saying before we went live, I think I was mentioning the backstage. There's a comic show on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be a legit one, so I've been kind of getting ready.
Nice.
I've been getting my wallet ready to see if I walk away with anything exciting. So we'll see.
That's awesome. I actually
you
just
both have a show tomorrow as well.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, good. Well, usually we kind of open it up to some of the viewers if there's any last questions or anything like that. Me and Sin always like to kind of wrap it up about an hour and a half. We don't want it to go over, excruciating amount of time, obviously, right?
Yeah.
We value your time too there, Swagglehause. So appreciate you.
For sure. I'm happy to be here.
There was one card I did want to show you, but I forgot to bring it down. And it actually, maybe I'll go get it real quick. Okay, I'm gonna go get this card. Sorry.
No worries. I'll talk with Swags. So, what's the biggest book that you have in your collection, if you don't mind me asking?
Biggest is well, this I got this X-Men one right here. So that one is definitely a big one, and then my Avengers one. I'd say those are probably the two bigger sticker books.
Yeah, I see two of the books that I need there. The top
Yeah,
two.
these two guys
Yep,
right
those the
Yeah.
Doc Ock and the Lizard. Yeah.
Yeah. The lizard for sure is like I may mention he's one of my favorite villains. I think just like one of the first Spider-Man villains when I was a kid, and all kids like dinosaurs, and he kind of looks like a dinosaur. So I always have a
Yeah.
fondness for lizards.
And I didn't get to pull it up. I had it on one of the windows there, but I did have the Lizard book pulled up, and surprisingly, out of the 5, that's the one that's taken the biggest nosedive.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like I think it. I mean, it progressively gets less. I don't know. Maybe he's one of the least popular, or maybe his movie counterpart wasn't as exciting or something. But I mean, it's good for me. I would love to upgrade my copy.
Okay.
at some
Well,
point.
what grade do you have in that one?
Right now it's a 2.5. So
Okay.
I'd love to get up to like a 4 or so.
Okay.
So I've had
I live and breathe in that wheelhouse in the 2.5, 3.5 realm.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. That's definitely a good sweet spot. But I just figured that, going into this year, I always think like, oh yeah, I'd love to get first, I don't know, Scorpion. It's like, or I could just upgrade my Lizard, So that's kind of what I think about, those types of things.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I do want to get the Lizard metal Marvel card at some point, the numbered one. Oh yeah, there you go, Scorpion right there.
Yeah. I forgot about this one. This one I probably forgot about it because I did a trade to get that book. So I traded, which I need another copy now. Batman 227, the famous Neil Adams cover.
Yeah. The Joker one or the Mist one.
The Mist one.
Yeah.
The Mist
Okay.
one with the castle in the background. Right. Yeah. I ended up trading a 5.0 for that 4.0.
Nice.
Yeah, it was. I won in the deal. But yeah. I definitely have to get another one because I just picked up, actually today, the first Silver Age of the Penguin. I have the first Poison Ivy in the mail coming, and I also have 171, which is the Riddler Silver Age.
All amazing books right there.
Yeah, I mean it has to go
for sure.
Let's see here with this one here.
Oh yeah. That's the Two-Face, right?
Yep, that's the first Silver Age Two-Face.
Yep.
But I'm a big Marvel guy, obviously, but you got to give respect a little bit to the villains of Batman. I mean, they're like the villains of ASM.
Going back to that James Gunn topic, like how cool would it be if they just get up and running and you just have all those Batman villains,
all of them,
all of them, they're just in the world. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, because you could do spin-off movies, right? You could do 3 movies of the Penguin or 3 movies, of the Riddler and so on and so on. There's just so much you can do.
There's just knowing that they're like a Baron Zemo, who it's like, they're in there. Is it maybe they're in jail now, but at some point you pull them in and do a storyline and
hey, and then you could do the amalgam where you mix them.
Yeah.
You have Dark Claw, which is Batman and Wolverine together.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I brought 2 cards down. The one card is this one here. Let me just add my screen, and then I'll make it big right here. Okay. So this is Hulk 181. This is in a Beckett slab. This is from 2015 Marvel, which was a 3D like lenticular set. This is actually a cover. It's actually one of the inserts from it. Not all the base cards were this lenticular style. You can't really see the lenticular on this. It's more in person, but it looks 3D. Like Hulk is in the background, and then you got Hulk up front with Wolverine. You can actually see a few different layers, right, to it. But I would love someday to actually get the comic to match. But yeah, you all know where
that would look nice side by side for sure.
Yeah. Now, this right here I'm going to show you is a Marvel card that's numbered to 30. I do have a video. It's actually talks about a grail card of this particular card. It's one of my favorite cards. The reason it's one of my favorite cards is because they only picked one character out of a 30 card set of a Marvel character. All the other characters were sports, movies, and all of that. So there were actors, there were sports, and they only picked one character, Wolverine. Did they pick Spider-Man? No. They picked Wolverine. And this was what the cards look like. This was from the 30-year anniversary, right? Well, this is a unique one. Like all the other ones had background and all that stuff was silver and all that stuff too, right? Well, if you look closely on this, there are actually comics in the background. There's Captain America, there's Hulk. This is Scarlet Witch, but I don't know where that's from. I found all the other comic books. You got what was it? Iron Man. You had Falcon. You had all these comics in the background. And what it was doing, it was actually they were saying that it was like trying to portray and trying to homage like all of the golden age like comics and all that stuff. They were just trying to give something back. Upper Deck for 30 years of making cards, and they wanted to give something back to the Marvel community, and that's what they did. Is they made this card. It's numbered to 30. It's a triple diamond relic of Wolverine. And it just is cool because it brought in the comic side of it in the background, which is sick.
Really cool. Yeah, that is super sick.
So I just wanted to show you that. It's pretty awesome. It's one of my favorite cards. One of my most expensive cards.
What did it set you back?
So this actually sold on golden auctions, not this particular card, but a card like this when it was like mid of last year. So July of last year, it sold for $5,500 on golden auctions.
Damn.
Right?
Yeah.
A week later, I actually picked this up, and they wanted 5, but I was able to settle with 3.
That's really good.
Yeah. So
have you seen any sales? Is it listed anywhere? Because there's only 30, right?
No, there was a private sale for 6,000. I don't know if it sold.
Got it.
So
what would your price be?
Like if someone wanted to
yeah. Like if I offered you $7,000 right now.
I would probably say no. Yeah, that's good. It's good. That's how it is.
But there's always a price for
There's
everything.
always a price. There
is a price
for everything.
Like if you would have said like $10,000, I would have been like,
yeah, your wife would beat you if you said no.
But no, like seriously. Well, I know the guy that has the one for 6, and I would offer him 5, and I'd make $5,000. So that's all good.
Yeah, there you go.
So, but that's what you got to think about, right? Can I buy it somewhere else? That PC item, can I buy it somewhere else?
Yeah.
Like for an amount, can I do that? Well, this card, there's only 30 of them, and they don't come up that often. So it's just...
yeah,
it's tough.
Yeah. So, but awesome. Well, that's all I have. Anybody I don't know what's been going on in the comments, so I apologize. Any questions for Swagglehause before we end? Guys, we appreciate his time. Appreciate you, bud. Let's see.
Yeah,
Charles,
I'm trying to look at the comments. I've been looking at the comments. No questions have been asked.
Okay.
I mean, at this point, guys, we want to thank you, Swagglehause, for coming on. You do amazing content, man, and just keep up the great work. I enjoy your videos, every single one of them. So I appreciate you coming on, giving your knowledge in the comic world, because you have quite a bit of it. But yeah, we're looking forward to having you on in the future. So let everybody know in the chat or viewers how to find you.
Yeah. Well,
who's Kega filled?
I don't know.
I
Do you
have
know?
no idea. They keep. I think they're going to be at the show, but I don't know
Oh,
who Kega Field is.
I was hoping it wasn't your wife.
No.
Alex, 9:15.
I gotta go.
9:15
I
a.m.
really gotta go.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say thank you guys again so much for having me on and inviting me. Really appreciate it. Definitely love the stuff you guys are doing. I try to catch the streams anytime I see you guys, on. And it's good because I need to learn more about Marvel cards because I'm very, very curious with it still. Like I still have a definite strong fondness for it. I just there's only so many collectible worlds I can constantly keep tabs on. So it's good that I can get my information from you guys whenever you guys are talking about it. So I definitely appreciate that. But yeah, if you guys don't know about my channel, if you're in the chat or you watch this on the replay, I have a channel called Swagglehause. You can see my name right there, Comics and Games. And I talk a lot about, vintage comic books and kind of the market and the values and prices and things like that. And try to do a few videos a week and try to keep it entertaining. And I definitely do what I can to be entertaining or to be funny from time to time. And hopefully if you guys watch the videos, you'll enjoy it and, get a little chuckle every now and again and maybe learn something. So again, I appreciate you guys inviting me on.
Yeah, no giveaways tonight. Our giveaway to you is right here
Swagglehause.
down below.
Right
Swagglehause. That's our giveaway for tonight. So, but no, appreciate you. I'll put some notes and stuff. Those who want to follow his stuff, I'll put his IG in there as well as his YouTube guys. So,
yep. And
Okay.
until next time, guys, we'll catch you next week. Same time, same place. So thanks again.
See you guys.
Signing off. See ya.
Have a good one.